Hey everyone, and welcome back to our podcast, Cut the Bullshit. This is episode 3 of our podcast. Obviously, we've touched on some quite sensitive subjects over the last 2. And this one is not going to change either. This one is still quite a sensitive one. But before we get into that, we just want to ask you guys to do us one quick favor. We want you to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you're watching on YouTube. And make sure that you share it as well. Let's get this out, because anything that we talk about is something that we feel that it definitely needs to be heard on all platforms, no matter if it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. It doesn't matter. But we also want your opinions on anything that we talk about as well. But today's episode, we're going to be talking about children's education. Oh God, this is going to be hilarious. But yeah, what do you like? What do you think? How this episode is going to go, man?
I don't know. Are we sure it's episode 3?
It is episode 3.
Is it not 4?
Is it episode 4? It might be episode 4. It could be episode.
It's just, yeah, no, I'm not sure.
Well, that's a good start.
It's 4. It's 4 because we've recorded 3 and it gets released next week.
Right, okay, so it's episode 4 then, guys, so apologies about that, but it's episode 4.
Yeah, we said we're new to this, and doing the sort of recording ahead thing and stuff is kind of a strange sort of new thing for us, where we're trying to get everything ahead so that we've got some weeks to release, and we end up getting confused as to which is which.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got lives outside of this, as we've said before. So we've got holidays coming up, and obviously work kind of gets in the way as well. So we're trying to squeeze in as many episodes as we can. So we've got a constant kind of flow of releases for you guys. So
yeah, we're doing it for you. But yes, episode 4, education, children's education. 60 days, 365. That's 300. So going off that, 300 days.
No. So yeah, 190 days out of 365 days a year.
Yeah. A woman gets 9 months paid mat, and then another 3 unpaid if she chooses to take it.
Yeah.
And then the main problem then is, you know, they've introduced a thing where you can share maternity leave.
Yeah.
Which is great, except that puts the father on statutory paternity pay. Now, as much as we'd like to think that everybody's got equal opportunities and everything, generally speaking, in my life especially, and in yours, I do believe, the bloke in both of our families brings in the most fucking money. So I can't go on to paternity pay, because if I do, we'll be fucked.
Yeah, well, it screws everyone up. And not only that, it kind of, and this will fall into a part that we'll touch on in a little bit, but it kind of, it takes away from the mum as well. I mean, what right do we have to turn around and say to, you know, our girlfriend, our fiance's wives, whatever they are to us, what right do we have to turn around and say, right, you've had 4 or 5 months off, go and fuck off back to work?
Yeah, but even if they take the sort of, if we sort, because they get 12 months, yeah. As I just said, they get 9 months paid, 3 months unpaid if they choose to take the unpaid. Technically, they could give us the 3 months unpaid.
Yeah.
So they get the 9 months, because even these days, not really many people are going to be able to take that 3 months unpaid. No. Because they're not going to be able to afford to. So, like, after my first, she went back to work after the 9 months. So, even if we take the 3 months unpaid, so we get 3 months off plus the 2 weeks, because generally for us, work pays you full pay for those 2 weeks. But then after that, if you take that 3 months and they have 9 months, you're still 3 months on statutory paternity pay, which is 100 and some odd pounds a week or something.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
And fuck me, mate, I earn fucking a hell of a lot more than that. So that means that I can't take that because I end up screwed. I've got a mortgage to pay, family to feed, fucking shit to pay for.
Yeah, exactly.
So who's going to be able to take that? So the government have gone, we'll make it look like we'll do something really. Again, we'll get into the government in another episode, I should imagine. But the government in this position, in this situation, have gone, well, we'll make it look good that we're offering the blokes more stuff to do with it. But actually, in the background, we're just fucking them over because they're not going to get the pay they got. So on my first, and I'll do the same on my second when it eventually fucking materializes. I've saved my holiday entitlement.
Yeah.
And gone to my boss and gone, can I have my 2 weeks paternity pay or paternity leave? And then straight after that 2 weeks paternity leave, I want 4 weeks holiday.
Yeah.
And I'm in the lucky position where my job is such that they can actually facilitate that. I don't know if they'll be able to do it again next time.
Probably not.
I don't know. We'll hopefully find out soon enough. See. But I'm in the position to be able to do that. Whereas, not again, I should imagine if you went to your work and said, I want to take my full holiday entitlement after 2 weeks paternity, they'd tell you to swivel.
It'd be, I'd say in my line of work, it'd be a lot harder for me to do that than it would be for you to do it. But then, on that, they'll turn out and say, well, why don't you just put your child in a private nursery, and then your wife or spouse can go back to work, earlier than the 9 months.
I'll give you a full fucking reason why, and it's the exact reason why a lot of people don't return to work either at all or full time, because they'll be working to pay the nursery fees.
Yep.
Full-time place in a nursery, bearing in mind that that I know this.
Yes.
A full-time place, I'm not going to say how because of keeping everything sort of anonymous and stuff, but full-time place in a nursery, we figured out, even with the discount and with the tax-free childcare amount, which is an extra 25% on top of what you deposit in that account.
Yeah.
Because I pay it now, is the same amount of money as my wife would earn in a month.
Yeah.
Her full monthly wage.
Yeah, exactly. It's a joke. I mean, putting a child in a private nursery from 3 months old, I feel like is too much anyway. I feel like that's too early. But on average, it costs for 50 hours for a child under 2. Is between £240 to £302 per week. Now that's outside of London. In London, the inner London.
It's obviously more expensive because London's fucking rip-off for no reason whatsoever.
It reaches roughly around £420 per week.
So let's just take hours. Let's just take that. Now, bear in mind, nurseries are open. Most nurseries are open all year round, apart from Christmas break. Yeah.
Yeah, bank holidays, and Christmas break.
Some of them are open bank holidays, some of them aren't, and stuff like that. But if we take, just as an example, apart from the 2 weeks around Christmas time, yeah. So 240 to £302. So let's take a rough average out of that is 285 quid, yeah?
Give or take, yeah.
Right, just as a middle ground. 285 quid. Take 2 weeks off for Christmas, 50 weeks in the year, yeah? Take another, so if we go for a nursery that isn't open bank holidays, how many bank holidays do we get?
5 or 6.
4, 6, 7 or something along those lines. So let's take away 7 from that.
So it's another week.
That's 50, that's 43, yeah? 43 weeks of the year, you'd put your child in nursery if it was a full-time place, right?
Yeah.
From the age of 3 months old. Now, I appreciate you said that's a bit early. Some people don't have a choice.
No.
Some people have to put them in as soon as they can. So, what did we say? 43 weeks. So, 285 times 43 weeks, that's 45 weeks in moron. That's £12,255 a year.
Yep.
That's your tax allowance for the year.
Mm-hmm.
That's your tax code usually. Nearly 12.5 grand. And that's just an average price out of the 240 to 302. If you're looking at 302...
Obviously, it's going to spike. You're looking at like 14 to 15.
Just shy of 13.
Yeah.
And if you live in London...
I don't even want to know. I generally don't want to know this.
If you live in London, 18.5 grand. And that's just the fees that we've sort of found on research. You know, everywhere's different. We all know that.
Everywhere is different. Yeah.
Now we
understand that.
We've obviously got, so you get tax-free childcare, depending on what you earn. I think it's under £100,000 a year. You get tax-free childcare. So that's whatever you pay into that, you sign up for HMRC online and tax-free childcare and stuff like that. You set a payment up, like I say, I know about this because I'm doing it now. You set a payment up every month to go into that account, and then the government add X amount. In the case that I've noticed, it's an extra 25%. So if you pay £200 in, you get an extra £50. Great. Up to a certain amount a year. That's fine. You also get your free hours, which they've started from newborn now, not just from 3 months old or whatever it used to be.
Wasn't it 2?
2. It might have been 2, but they've started
it was 2.
They've now reduced it down to newborn onwards because they know that they're screwing us over that much that newborn parents have to go back into work as soon as possible. That's why they've done that.
Oh, yeah, there's no other way. There's no other cake in that in any form of way. It's like, oh, yeah, we're screwing you so much that you're going to have to go back to work within the first 4 months of having a child.
Yeah, exactly. And again, you know, some people are lucky enough not to have to. Some people are lucky enough to be able to go to the other half and go, yeah, you can have your full 9 months. It doesn't matter. Some people aren't. I know some people that aren't. I know some people that are.
Yeah.
So, and the private nursery, and this is something we'll get onto versus school, is better because it's longer hours.
Yeah, so I was going to touch on this as well. So most nurseries, and again, I know this because I've been through it personally. So with most nurseries in the UK, you can drop your child off from the hours of 7 to 8 a.m. roughly around there. Some are earlier, some are a little bit later. It just depends on their opening times. And then they can stay in until between 5 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. Again, they vary. They're not set in stone. But, you know, it just depends on the nursery's opening hours and how busy the nurseries are and stuff like that. And some nurseries have concessions where, you know, some parents can work a fair bit of distance away, so they'll stay open a little bit longer. So by the time parents get, you know, stuck in traffic or whatever. But on average, it's normally drop off between 7 and 8 and pick up between 5 and half 6. Now, for a private nursery for a 3-month-old, that is a extremely long day. And even as they progress and get older, it's still a long day in education.
Well, no. So I disagree with the fact that especially for a 3-month-old, calling it education.
Well,
It's not education for a 3-month-old. It's just somewhere to fucking put them. No, because what are you going to? It's something you're trying to get them to support themselves, and you're trying to get them to crawl and all that kind of stuff.
It's a form of education because when you think about it, right? So what do they learn within the first year? Right? They're learning to crawl, walk, talk, eat, social skills as well because they want to be around other children, right? So they learn all that in their first year. If you're going to put them in a nursery, in a private nursery, in that first year, regardless of how you want to think of it, it's a form of education.
Right. Okay. So we're expanding the definition of education there.
Not really, because they're still learning.
Yeah, but they'll be doing the same.
Learning is education.
Yeah, but they'll be doing the same at home. It's not. For me, it's not hardcore stuff. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's not. But education adapts as they get older. but it's still a form of education because you
Right,
are still learning.
For the purposes of this episode, we're expanding the definition of education.
If that's what you want to call
we're
it.
talking about education, because a lot of what we're going to go into is late primary school, high school, because that's where you sort of, again, we'll get into it, but that's where you're getting set up for life, supposedly. That's where you're getting set up for leaving school and going into work and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But like I say, again, it all goes back to the fact that not a lot of people have a choice in the matter.
No, not an awful lot of people do. But it's what the way I look at it is, it's a long day for the child, but a lot of it is going to be based around play and stuff like that, and fun activities, painting, whatever the nursery can facilitate. Some nurseries have yoga instructors coming in, and they have like yoga classes. Some nurseries, honestly, believe it or not, some nurseries actually have language tutors coming in as they get older, before they go into primary school, to teach them basic Spanish, French, whatever. It just depends on what the nursery kind of wants to facilitate. But so we've touched on the time for the nursery, and obviously, like I say, it's quite a long day if they're in from first thing in the morning to last minute in the evening.
Well, it's actually the length of time a day should be in education, if you ask me.
Well, let's be honest. If you went from 8 to 5, right? If that's the time that you were able to put your child in nursery, that is a standard work day in the UK.
Yes.
8, 9 to
9
till
5 is Dolly Parton sang about it.
Yeah, it's a standard day. But as you get older, and this is where you were going before, I believe. As you get older and education becomes more intense and it becomes more relevant to what you're going to learn for later on in life, and obviously using your everyday life, the school day gets shorter. So it goes from 9 till 3.
9 till 3. Is that the average school day?
3.
I mean, I know it's been a long while since I've been in fucking school, but 9 till 3 is the average school day.
9 till 3. So you're talking 6 hours a day. And then in that, most
you've got an hour lunch.
An hour lunch.
And two 15-minute
breaks.
So you're an hour and a half out of that. That's a 5-hour day.
4.5.
No, 5. It was 5 lessons at an hour a lesson, wasn't it? Well, it was when I was in school anyway.
Yeah, but it's a 6-hour day.
6-hour day.
An hour and a half out. So it's 4.5 hours.
Sorry, my maths isn't right there. Yeah, fair enough. 4.5 hours.
4.5 hours of education, Monday to Friday.
What?
For 190 days a year.
No wonder no cunt knows what they're doing these days. Fucking hell.
No wonder people are stood at petrol pumps with an electric car.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard our episode on electric cars, go and watch it now.
Yeah, that fucking filling the fucking coolant bottle up with oil and the oil up with coolant. What the fuck?
Stood there with the Tesla with a fucking fuel pump. I don't know where the hole is. That's the first time she's never heard that. Anyway.
Can't find the hole. Yeah. Don't be lying. I can see it from here, you dirty bitch.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. So yeah, it dramatically drops in time for school as education becomes more relevant to what they're going to need later on in life.
The problem is that a lot of the education doesn't become more relevant to what they need as well, which is something else we'll talk about.
Well, yeah, that's something that we'll touch on. But is that right? Honestly, for something that they're in for so long, and there is talks about extending school until you are 18. It becomes mandatory to be until you're 18.
I think they've actually done it. They've done that.
They might have done it.
Yeah, the only time it doesn't apply is if you at 16 get an apprenticeship or something along those lines.
Yeah. But it used to be obviously 16 and then you make the decision when you go into sixth form.
Sixth
college.
form is 18, yeah, and then college is after that, yeah.
No, it was either sixth form or college.
From that, yeah, but you can still.
Yeah.
I mean, Christ, mate, I was in college when I was 2014. I went into college. I'd been out of school fucking 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So the college ages don't really matter. You can go to college at 50 if you want, you know?
Yeah,
You just got to pay for it. But yeah, a school day should be a standard work day. Now, don't get me wrong. Fuck you, no. We're recording this at 10 to 11 at night because I'm working night shifts.
Yeah.
So not everybody's work day is a standard work day. I work minimum 12-hour shifts on night shift. Generally a lot more than that because I stay away from home, like I say. So where I'm going to, back to the hotel to do fuck all. Mm-hmm. So not everybody's work days are standard 9 till 5, but majority of people, a lot of people that come out of school go into 9 to 5 jobs. So the first thing that should be done to prepare them for a regular workday job is the school day should be a regular workday set of hours.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I can understand it to a point at younger ages. So up until
attention
up until year
spans
6,
and stuff like that.
Attention spans, yeah. So I can understand that. And let's be honest, what you learn the basics when you're in primary school. Up until year 4, it's pretty basic stuff that you learn. You learn to read, write. So it's the basics.
Yeah, it's like learning to drive. You learn to pass your test.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't learn to drive. When you get into high school, if we're using the parallel of learning to drive, when you get into high school, that's when you learn to drive.
Yeah.
You've passed your test. You learn to drive in high school. That's when you learn to drive. There's two big differences between learning to pass your test, which is what you do when you do your driving test and driving lessons, versus actually out there and driving. Obviously, when I went into high school, you didn't know me at that stage, but when I went into high school, I was working weekends. Shut up. I was working weekends and school holidays in shops and shit like that.
Yeah.
So I've always worked anyway. And I'm talking a greengrocer, so I was in there at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
To pull all the fucking shite outside and take the deliveries in and replenish all the stock of the vegetables and shit. So I've always had that sort of thing where I've worked and I've worked from early in the morning, even when I was in school. And the problem these days is, as has been proven by a lot of things, is no fucker wants to work anymore.
No.
And that is something that I think could be potentially a little bit alleviated by extending the school day and making them do proper hours. But it's not just about them either. We'll go back to the parent thing again. My missus works, worst case, 7:30 while 6 o'clock. And as I've already mentioned, I work away from home.
Yeah.
Who the fuck's picking my kid up from school? Neither of us.
Exactly. No.
Which means I've now got to go and pay a fucking nanny to do it.
Yeah.
So if they extended the school day from 9 till 5, say, it makes, yes, potentially it would still have to get someone to pick our child up, but I'm not paying as many hours to the nanny or to whoever we have, whether it be a friend or whatever, as I would be now. So from 3 o'clock, 10 past 3, I think I finished school, from what I remember. So from 10 past 3 to 6:30, potentially, when my wife gets home.
Yeah.
20 quid an hour, 60 quid a day. And that's just the end of the day, never mind the beginning of the day. So that's 20 quid an hour, 60 quid a day, times 5, 300 quid a week. Worse than fucking nursery. Well, it's getting there anyway. It's getting up there. So parents are sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place until the child turns such an age as the government sees them being able to fit to be left alone, which I believe is 13 or 14 years old.
Yeah, but even then, you have that problem of if that's the case and you leave a teenager on their own, number one, you don't know what they're getting up to. Number two, you no matter how much you teach them, there's always going to be something that could go wrong external to them. Do you know what I mean? So something could always happen. Obviously, touch wood, nothing ever does, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Trust me. But sometimes things happen that aren't, within their control. So you don't really want to leave a 13, 14-year-old teenager in a house on their own. And especially, let's be totally honest here and let's be frank, a woman, a girl.
Yeah, so obviously, this all this leaving children alone at a certain age and stuff is dependent on your own sort of opinions on whether they are capable. Like you say, the girl versus boy thing, same again, is a different thing to the capability. Although if we do have a girl, our girl will be just as capable as our boy at defending themselves.
100%.
Yeah, always finish a fight, never start it. Let them swing for you first. Anyway, so if we just take boys for example, because there seems to be a glut of boys being born at the moment. So if we take boys for an example, you've got to then take. Well, I mean, look, yours at the age yours is at.
Mm-hmm.
Do you foresee in 6 years' time, it'd be 12, 13?
Yeah.
Do you foresee that at that age you think you would be comfortable leaving him alone?
It's a tough one because, and I'll tell you why. It's not him and his capability that I'd be worried about. It's something outside of his control.
But right,
that I'd be more worried about.
What are we talking about? Are we talking about getting snatched into a van, or are we talking about setting the house on fire? What are we talking about?
We're talking about outside influence. So we're talking about someone trying to get into the house while I'm not there.
Right. Okay.
We're talking that level kind of stuff. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Me saying, right, you can come home from school on your own. Do you know what I mean? I won't be in for an hour. Do you know what I mean? When you get there, I'm on my way home from work or whatever. That's fine. No issue with that. But it's outside interference that I'd be more concerned about.
Right. Okay. And a lot of that will depend on area that you live in and so on.
Well, I mean, it could happen. It can happen in any.
It can happen anywhere. Yes. No, I appreciate. But again, statistically,
Statistically, yeah,
it's all about areas that you live in and stuff like that. And
yeah.
But on the other side of that argument, you're looking at now. Hey, I'm guilty of this. I've always been guilty of this. We've known each other for long enough to know that I catastrophize.
Yeah.
And I catastrophize based on the fact that if it happens, I'm ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
If I sit there and go, oh no, the glass is fucking half full, it's all grand, blah, 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 I get hit by a fucking ton of bricks when something goes wrong.
Yep.
So I'm not ready for it. Mentally, physically, not ready for it. So that's why I catastrophize. So I appreciate where you're coming from. But let's face it.
There's always a but.
How often, now I'm not being funny, but even in your area, because it is fucking rough, how often has that actually happened? That silence is long enough for me to go, not very.
Well, I mean, I don't know everyone in my area, but
you don't. But surely you'll hear. You've been living there long enough. Surely you'll have heard about something.
Well, I mean, let's just say there is a police presence every now and again.
Yeah, but that's just because it's Liverpool. That's nothing to do with anything else.
Listen, you living in your old people's home.
Yes, exactly, and that's why I chose where I chose. But yeah, no. But the principle's there. How often has it actually happened? And the fact that you're going to leave your child alone at a certain age isn't going to change that. Really. And if you're that worried about it, I mean, fuck me, mate. I've got cameras around my house and everything, so I'm good. It's you've got to make that decision based on the capabilities of your child. And like I say, you teach them what to do if something goes wrong, which you can do at that age anyway.
Mm.
And that's about it. And then whatever happens. You can't base your life or doing things in your life off of things going wrong all the time. As much as I catastrophize, I don't catastrophize that much.
No, true. But there's only so much that we can teach them at home. But again, we can teach them so much when they're at home, when we see them. But they're in school as well, and I feel like the school could definitely do something with that. I mean, are they teaching the relevant things in
as
school?
As far as I remember, even when I was in school, I believe it's changed. Obviously, neither of us has a child in high school. So again, I know primary school is different because it's basics.
Mm-hmm.
It's how to read, how to write properly and stuff like that. But high school is where the proper hardcore stuff starts. So for the sake of talking about what we're going to talk about now, by the looks of it, because you just led into it, about what children are learning in school, we're going to high school for that, because that's where the relevancy comes.
Yeah,
or lack of relevancy.
But what I'm saying is, even at primary school level, there are things that teachers could teach a primary school child that could help, that is more relevant than other things that they're getting taught.
Right, okay. So my child isn't in primary school at the moment, because he's about a year or so away from that. Yours is, however.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pass this on to you, because you know what they're teaching in primary school. I don't, because I've not got that experience yet. It'll come, and no doubt I'll be not happy about a lot of it. But feel free to piss me off.
Oh God, there we go. Right, so basically, from when we were in school, we'll start with the one thing that really has ticked me off, to be honest, on this, the ABC song. Right. Now we all know the ABC song. So how does the ABC song go as you remember it?
I'm not singing it, but we all know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So they changed it. Now if you Google it, like, I guarantee you it'll come up and it's a different version. But we know the part of the ABC song where it goes LMNOP, right?
Yeah.
QRSTUVWXYZ. Now I know my ABC.
Yeah.
Right? No, it's not that anymore. So where it goes LMNOP, right? It now goes LMNO and then stops. And then they carry and then they continue it.
Right, I'm gonna slide this in. I think I'm gonna put this in as a video on the YouTube, and it'll be a sound on the audio only copy.
Did you know they changed the alphabet song?
They changed it.
Did you not know that?
No, they didn't.
I'm not even joking. I swear.
No,
I'm gonna play it for you.
Okay.
I'm not joking, Zach. I am not joking.
Are you gonna like Rick roll me here?
I swear to you. Pinky promise.
Okay.
They changed the alphabet song.
So it's not A, B, C, D, E, F, G,
No,
H, I,
I know. Yeah, go. Yes, it's not that.
L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z.
It is not that anymore. Would you like to hear it?
I can't believe they changed it.
Are you ready?
They're ruining childhoods.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O,
No.
P, Q, R, S, T, U,
That's not real.
V,
I swear.
W, X, Y, Z.
That's not real. Who'd you hear that from?
It's on Tucker Carlson. It's on all these news outlets. I swear to you, Zach. I'm not joking this time.
That is crazy.
I'm not joking. So they took out LMNOP.
Why? What's that mean? Oh, Brian.
Take your guess.
Where are we going?
Where are you going?
I don't know.
Where are you going with
I'm
it?
not going anywhere.
The LMNOP part of the song is now slowed down because for English learners, it sounds more like one letter. Because LMNOP is pretty fast. They're trying to dumb it down so it's easier to learn.
As a musician, yes, I am multi-talented, by the way. But as a musician,
Full of fucking shit. That's what it is.
my head's just fallen off.
Yeah, exactly.
Because how does that work?
Exactly. It doesn't. There was no need to change it. It was perfectly good the way.
If it ain't broken, don't fix it.
There was no need. Exactly. There was no need to change that. And this is what I'm talking about with the basics. In obviously the level that my child's currently at. Phonics, which is another one. Right?
I've seen some videos on TikTok about people going to phonics.
Phonics does my absolute fucking nutting, right? And it's more so because, and people will turn around and say to me, it's just because you're old. That may be so, right? I'm older, right? I've been out of school for several years. But when I am trying to teach my child outside of school how to spell something, right? And I say to him, for example, S, right? So if I'm spelling the word sock, right? SOC, curly kicking, right? That's how I would.
Yeah, as a primary school, they're not. Yeah.
No. So sock, right? It's just sock. That's how they get the child to spell it. Sock. That's it, because they sound it out.
That's bullshit. How does that work? No, how does that work? Because
Exactly.
you're sitting there, you're just sounding out a word. The only time I've ever had to when I was learning, I mean, not in primary school, but when even now we struggle with spelling sometimes, you know. And when I'm learning, that's how I learned to spell a complicated word. In a way, that's how I learned to spell a complicated word.
Yeah.
But not basic words. So how did they do cat?
Cat. Basically get them to sound it out, but you're missing the fundamentals of the letters. So d, o, kelike, kekinke. You're missing that, because if you sound out soch, right, and you don't pronounce the individual letters, right? Soch literally just sounds like SOK or SOC.
Yeah, well, that's the English language, yeah. There's several words that are like that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it just doesn't make sense, and it makes it more difficult for parents, I'd say, because it's all right
we've learned to spell the proper way. So I'm trying to teach my child to spell the proper way, and then my child is then going to school and being taught to spell the wrong, well, in our view, the wrong way.
Exactly, because so parents are. I think the only way to put this is miseducated for the purpose of this podcast, because we're so out of touch with the way the education system is now, because we can't keep up with what children are learning in school. So how are we meant to help with homework when we ourselves don't understand what they're actually teaching in school?
I think it's more of in the primary school case of phonics, it's more of how they are teaching it as opposed to what they are teaching. Because at the end of the day, if we teach them our way and school teaches them their way, the end result is still the same.
Yeah.
And while I appreciate that I've just said something that sort of negates what we're saying in regards to how they teach things by saying the end result is always the same, it's not easy to teach spelling via phonics versus teaching spelling the way that we were taught to spell.
Yeah.
But so why change it? Because then, like you just said, that makes it difficult for us to relay that at home.
Yeah.
Now, I don't agree with homework, something else we'll get into. I don't agree with homework.
No, I don't either, to be fair.
I think it's bollocks. But at home, we're still teaching my son to read a book, to say words and recognize words, and he does. And he recognizes some bloody long word. I mean, he can say Giselle, Peppa Pig reference, you know, and giraffe and stuff like that. So he can recognize the word. He knows what the word is. Obviously, if we ask him to spell it, he's not going to be able to do that. But he knows what it is and he recognizes it. And that's via myself. All right, no, actually. That's mainly via my wife teaching him how to recognize words and stuff.
Well, again, to try and take the credit there, mate.
Going back to the fact that I work away from home. So, and obviously with my wife in the line of work that she's in, she has that sort of knowledge to be able to teach words and spellings and stuff like that anyway. In whatever way that their overarching body sees fit, which in this case is the education board's way, you know. But if we get away from spelling, words, maths, we won't go into maths because it's a basic fundamental. Science again, apart from biology. If we're going to tie biology into transgender and stuff like that, then it's a bit different. But chemistry and physics, we'll get away from all that because English in school, the class they call English is spellings and stuff like that, and the English language. Maths, like I say, basic fucking fundamental that you need in everyday life anyway. Physics and chemistry. Not sure about chemistry. I did very poorly in chemistry, even though I had extra help and everything. But physics teaches you how the world works, basically. And if I had my time again, I'd probably go into physics a lot more because I really enjoy it. And that ties in with maths as well, because it's all formula and stuff like that. Again, chemistry, formula, maths. Biology, if we're going back to biology how it was when we were in school, then yeah, fair enough.
Discos and nerd, and 9 months later the baby's born.
But yeah, that and plants and how plants grow and how plants work and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move on to RE.
Can we not?
PE.
Can we skip that? Can we skip religious education, please?
Religious education, physical education. What other lessons did we have that were pointless?
Drama.
Geography. Drama. Well,
Huge
it wasn't.
man to teach.
Drama wasn't boring. Wasn't pointless for you, was it? You did quite well in that.
Well,
didn't you?
it wasn't, but a lot of people would call it boring because it's not something that you would
well,
do.
I did a drama GCSE in year 9 and got an F. So there we go.
Yeah.
PE, not interested in me at all. I mean, if you could see me, I'm a fat cunt. The only things that did were the cross-country run because we'd run around school. So all that'd happen is what we'd do is we'd run up the road away from the teacher, turn the corner, and then go into the bushes and get the fags out and have a smoke.
Sounds about right.
And then peg it for a little bit just to make up a bit of time. So as we're going round, the only other things that really interested me were the likes of table tennis and stuff like that. I went to an all-boys school, so rugby was just an excuse for everyone to bully the fuck out of the people they bullied, which I was one of, and kick shit out of each other. Football wasn't too bad, running, sprinting, sports day stuff. All the fat guys got the tug of war. I was the fat guy, so I got the back of the fucking rope, and stuff like that. But yes, while I agree that we should probably have more activity, because of obesity and stuff like that, it should be done in a way that isn't physical education in school. It should be done in a different way. Geography, why the fuck do I want to know or need to know what a rock is composed of? Why would I need to know that?
I don't know.
Oh, I wouldn't, would I? I did a geography GCSE as well because it was the only subject I had to pick from RE, geography, or what's the third one that was pointless? Can't
Humanities?
Remember. No, humanities was different. I don't think we got humanities. Anyway, RE, geography, and history. Yeah, not interested in history at all. And geography was the one that I picked, and I still got a D, so there we go. So, yeah, RE's fine.
No, it's not.
In the fact that we should know about certain things about other people's religions.
No, we shouldn't.
However, so when this podcast come up and we decided to do this, the very first thing, wasn't it? It was literally the very first thing that you sent to me on the podcast group was that some school somewhere was cancelling Easter.
Yeah, so it was Norwood Primary School in Eastleigh had cancelled Easter celebrations to be inclusive, but they cancelled a Catholic holiday.
Now, right.
So that's not very inclusive, is it?
No, not for the Catholics, it's not.
No, exactly. So you want to... So they were celebrating Refugee Day or Refugee Month or whatever.
That's nothing to celebrate if you ask me. But
which is later on in the year. So they were celebrating that, but they won't celebrate a Christian holiday, Easter, because they want to be inclusive. Well, that's not being inclusive. That's being
exclusive of Christians.
Yeah. So
But they'll still do Eid, and they'll still do whatever else holidays everybody else does. But for some reason, the Christian holiday gets put by the wayside because why? Because it's racist. No, it's not.
Exactly.
If you don't want to celebrate that shit, then fine, don't celebrate it. But on the same token as us are learning about your religion, you need to learn about ours.
Well, this is the thing, and this is what winds me up a little bit because this is a Catholic-based country predominantly. This is what Britain is.
Christian, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a Christian-based country, and that's what it's always fundamentally been. Now, granted, obviously there are a lot of other religions now in this country. We've got quite a diverse country now, so I understand it. But at the end of the day, if you go to a British school, then religious education should be, if you're going to teach it, it should be about our religion. It shouldn't be about their religion. Now I can understand when someone comes to me, "Oh, you need to know basics of other religions. You need to respect other
right,
religions."
yeah. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I disagree with you on the majority of lessons being about take Christian as an example, because it's more predominant. Well, it used to be. I disagree with you when you say it should be mostly about the Christian religion. It shouldn't be mostly about any religion. It should be an equal spread of everybody's religion that you would come across. Because, right, you come across Christians, fair enough. And see, this is hard for me because I'm not religious in any way at all. I don't believe in all of that. I think it's bollocks. But you come across Christians. When I was in school, I had an Indian friend. So whatever Indian religion, again, like I say, I'm sorry, I don't follow it, but whatever the Indian religions are.
Hindi, isn't it?
I'm not sure. No, that's the language, isn't it?
I thought it was Hinduism.
I had Pakistani friends. I had other friends of other religions, Jewish friends, So you need to learn what everybody. I think you do need to learn what everybody else believes. The problem is, as you get older, and as we've found out now, that everybody believes that everybody that's hardcore in their belief goes too far.
Yeah, religion is the cause of a lot of.
I think it's the biggest.
To be fair,
pretty much one of the biggest cause of deaths in the world, based on something that someone believes in. It's not something that's been proven to be real, just someone believes in it. Now, again, we're going to sound a bit sort of hypocritical in future episodes when we talk about paranormal stuff and that kind of thing, because I know that that's something we've got planned coming up. But it's not fair to exclude anyone's religion. But it's got to be done in the right way, and it's got to be done so that we're not teaching them about the bad things, which is why everybody takes the religion thing as an issue. So you've got suicide bombers going out and fucking doing what they're doing because they believe they'll get 72 virgins. And they're doing
Sounds
it all
like
in
punishment to me.
Yeah, who wants to hear 72 women go, ow? And they never said it was women neither, by the way. He never said it was 72 women virgins. It would be 72 men. And that'll put their whole religious beliefs out of the window, won't it?
Yeah, wouldn't it just?
But, they're doing it in the name of what they call God.
Yeah.
But God, if you follow religion, like I say, I don't, but I know enough to know that God is God regardless. There's only one from the research that I've done. And we all call it a different thing. So in the case of what we've just been talking about, Allah,
yeah.
I believe Vishnu's the Indian one.
Yeah, or something along those lines.
We've got just God because we're normal. So yeah, right, yeah, pulling a face. No, I agree with that. We're not normal, but do you know what I mean? It's this waffle sounds like it makes no sense to me, and I hope it makes sense to you. But yeah, that's what the issue of religion is you can't exclude one religion. You can't give another religion more airtime, basically. You have to give the equal opportunities to everyone in the religion. And I respect people that believe in stuff. Just because I don't believe in it doesn't mean I don't respect those that do. What I don't respect is those that believe in it that far that they're killing in the name of their God because they think their God wants them to do that.
Yeah. I can understand it. It's just for me, the fact that, and I've seen news articles and stuff like that of like children going to, so like British children who are Catholic going to a mosque or anything like that, and obviously being taught how to pray and stuff like that and their way of doing it. But in like comments and that obviously I've read on the articles I've read, it'd be like, well, are them kids going to a church and being taught how we would pray in a Catholic church? And a lot of them like, no, they won't go. They won't step foot in a church because it's not their belief. Well, how can you expect these children to go to a mosque, a synagogue, wherever they're going, and being taught that part of the religion, but then they won't reciprocate and go to a Catholic church and be taught that part? It's that irks me.
Yeah,
Do you know
that's
what I
what
mean?
I've just said. You can't exclude one religion, and you can't give one religion more than the other religion.
No,
You
but
shouldn't.
it's not the school. This is the parents. This is the parents and the children not going to those places. Do you know what I mean? So the school will organise a day trip, right? To like I say, like a mosque, and then whoever follow that religion will obviously be teaching the children how to pray and everything like that because that's what they're taught. That's their religion. But those children, the parents of those children will not allow them to go to a Catholic church to learn about our religion because they don't want to do that. That's what's irking me more. So it's all right you saying we should give airtime to all religion in a classroom. In a classroom, fine, but if you're going to go on a day trip to learn more intensely on how we pray or whatever, do you know what I mean? Everyone's got to be included in this. It can't just be all one rule for one or one rule for everyone and then a different rule for another set because they don't want to do it.
Yeah, so I don't. I mean, I don't mind learning about religion. We'll come off this in a minute, but I don't mind learning about religion in a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with taking them out of the classroom to places of worship because that is where the parent thing's coming in, where they're, I'd imagine, like I say, I don't know, but I'd imagine from what you've just described that a lot of them are hardcore Catholics or hardcore, they follow their religion.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going basically, no, our religion is this, so why should my child have to do that? Now,
exactly.
Again, I don't agree with religion anyway. I think it's not right, and that's reflected in my day-to-day life. My day-to-day life with my life with my children, my child in this case. I was christened about a year or so after my birthday. I was christened, obviously. A year or so after my birthday, I didn't have a choice. Now, it was done because it was a deathbed wish of a relative, which I respect my mum for, a relative of my mum's. I respect my mum for that. It is what it is. I will not christen my child because I'm forcing religion on my child when he's not old enough, he's not got enough details, he's not got enough fucking of his own thinking to be able to make that decision. Don't get me wrong. If my child comes to me at 14, 15, says, I'm a Christian, I want to get christened, fine. Just an excuse for a party. If he comes to me at 13, 14 years old and decides he wants to be a fucking Hindu, then I'll be making questions of my life choices. But because I've not brought him up that way, I'm not bringing him up religious because I don't agree with it, like I've said. So I would imagine that he won't end up coming to me with something like that. I know that you have a different view on that fact, and I know that you've been trying to get yours christened for a very long time, but that's my view on that.
Yeah, no, I get that. But anyway, I think that's enough on religion because that could
because that could be an episode on its own. To be fair,
it generally could be. But
the same as so we go into, like I say, we go into the likes of geography, RE, history, stuff like that. Which for me, in a high school, like I say, we're going to just go with the high school side of things. In a high school, in this country, you should be learning to run your life. You should be learning the skills to be able to work in whatever field you want to work in, hence what the options are. But do they still pick options?
I don't know.
I think they do. Because why would you make them concentrate on stuff that's got absolutely fuck all to do with what they want to do when they leave school? When I picked options, I picked a form of construction. I picked music. Geography because I had no choice, and something else I can't remember. But what I think from when I was in school, they're missing from schools, and it might be sort of passively taught as opposed to me knowing that they've taught it to me. Money management, how the tax system works. Now, in America, that'd be more relevant because they do their own taxes, but they don't get taught that either. They have to go out into the world and do that themselves. So money management, sex education at that age, not in fucking primary school like I've heard some places are. What the fuck are you teaching a 6-year-old about sex for?
I got taught sex education in year 7.
Yes, that's when you should start getting taught it, but people just seem to shy away from it. It's not something that's talked about properly. It might be touched on. It might be touched. It might be touched on, but it's not taught properly. Stuff is taught in biology about it, like you said before, but not when you get to the age where your hormones are going and you want to stick it in anything fucking wet. Do you know what I mean? It's not taught enough. It's not. Let's just leave it at that. But I think it's not taught enough. How to plan properly and stuff like that. You know, my job. I mean, don't get me wrong. Fuck me. If you'd have told me when I left school that I'd be doing what I'm doing now, I'd have laughed at you. There's no way I would have thought that, 8, 16, 12, 13, 14, 15 years out of school, I'd be doing this. It's heavily based around planning. And planning is something that I've learned as I've come out of school. It's not something I was taught. How to prioritize, how to plan things, how to put this here and this there and do this and that. It's not taught in school.
No, it's not. And it's the same with like things like, mortgages and stuff like that.
Money management.
Like saving.
Again,
yeah. It's none of that is relevant. Now, you're telling me that you can't replace something like humanities or something like that, or as you rightly say, have it as a subject option, for year 9 onwards when you pick your options, or you can't squeeze a half an hour lesson,
Oh, it should be a core lesson. It should be a core lesson. Maths, English, science, and whatever you would call it. In this case, we'll call it life, just so that it's easy to remember what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But it should be a core thing. It shouldn't be an option. Because many people... I came out of school and I fucked up with money that fucking bad that I've only just paid off the loan that I got, not when I left school, fair enough, but when I turned 50, when I turned 19, 20, it got to a point where I had to get a big loan to cover everything, and I've only just paid it off.
Yeah.
Now, I've only just paid it off because I've managed to get my accountant to sort me out, but that's how much it can affect you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, your credit score is something that,
14 years of my life has been fucking dedicated to paying this bastard loan off. And I've managed to do it. And I've got a couple of other bits to do, but that was the big thing that has been following me for a very long time.
Yeah.
And that was all because I didn't have an understanding, a proper understanding, even though my dad and my grandparents had tried to put it into me. I didn't have a proper understanding of money management.
No.
If you can't afford it, you don't buy it.
Yeah.
You don't get in debt for it.
Yeah. So are we in agreement then that we think that the curriculum should be looked at in a way to make
it should be overhauled.
To make some changes?
Yeah, it should be overhauled. Drama. Why do we need drama in high school? If you want to do drama, fine, but it should be a college education thing, not a high school thing. I think drama was mandatory when I did it.
I done drama from primary school.
Yeah, but you do fuck all to do with drama now. So it was...
Yeah, but that... Well, to be fair, that's not entirely my fault.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is, it's like philosophy in university. What's the fucking point? You're going to get into hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of debt, thousands of pounds worth of debt, tens of thousands of pounds worth of debt to do philosophy, and you're going to come out and you're going to end up working in fucking McDonald's. Because philosophy degrees don't fucking matter, which they don't. And there's a lot of other pointless shite degrees in university that need to be pulled out because this country's falling to shit because everybody's taking dead easy shit just to say they've got a degree and they're not doing actual work. They're just...
Yeah, but even if you get a degree, now, I mean, we know someone who got quite lucky when they went through college and uni, got a degree, and then ended up getting a job out of it. Won't name names. But we know someone who did quite well and was able to put their degree to good use. Now, there are people out there who will get a degree in a sector that they want. I know someone who this has happened to, and they can't get a job because
they've not got physical experience. Now, this is something this is something I don't agree with the job market. Experience shouldn't be the marker of someone who can do a good job, because how are you supposed to get experience without getting a job when you can't get the job without getting experience?
Exactly.
But that's a whole separate issue. But the principle of what you're saying is there. Now, the person he's talking about there is me, about the degree.
I didn't think he was going to go into this, by the way.
No,
I was just kind of making it obvious.
I've got an equivalency to a degree, an MVQ level 6, in site management, which is the equivalent of a degree. And again, like I said to you before, if you'd have said to me that I'd be, mainly the money thing, obviously, but the job thing itself, I'd be doing this, I'd have the qualifications that I've got when I'd left school, I wouldn't have entertained it. But a lot of this is who you know.
Yeah, I mean,
the job market's become who you know, not what you know.
Yeah. No,
I have a basic knowledge. I got into this with a basic knowledge, and now I have a hell of a lot more knowledge because I've got the experience, which is fair enough. But it was pure fucking dumb luck that I'm in the position that I'm in now.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm not gonna, but it was also it might be dumb luck, but it was also like hard work, because obviously you had to put the hours in to pass the courses that you were put on as well.
Yeah. So but the fact that I got the opportunity by my previous employer, not the employer I'm with now, but my previous employer, who refuses point blank to accept the fact that if it wasn't for him, besides not being in a position I'm in, I probably wouldn't be fucking studying. He said, no, it's you. You've done all the hard work. You've done it. I've just paid for it. I did a HNC in civil engineering through him. And he said, no, you've done the whole hard work. I said, no, but you've given me the opportunity to do it, because I'd never been able to pay for college. No. And I was at the age where I would have had to have paid for it myself. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, granted, I've put a lot of hard work in. Yeah. When my son was born, I was doing my MVQ6. I had him in 2 o'clock in the morning, him in one arm, and I was typing on my laptop doing my MVQ with my other arm.
Mm-hmm. And this is what we're talking about when it, like, I don't think schools prepare you for that in any way, shape or form. But not only that, the schools not prepare you for, like, you know, working life, because they're not set up properly. But what they definitely don't prepare people for, especially parents, is the absolute cost of schools these days. Now, obviously, I've got a little bit of experience in this, because my son is currently in primary school. Now, I'll go through like primary school stuff, but we've got some figures and stuff on secondary school uniform, which I'll let my pal talk about that, because he's kind of more money. As you can probably tell, he's definitely more on the money side. But basically, at the start of the school year, on the summer holidays, everyone goes through this whole mad thing of buying the school uniforms for the next year. And we kind of leave it as late as possible, because especially when you've got a young child, you don't know when their next growth spurt.
Yeah, you don't want to spend the amount that I'm about to tell you about on school uniform for 2 weeks later for them to go to school and then it fits like some fucking tart on a street corner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's bad. But I'd say on average, my son's uniform now. bear in mind, like I said, my son's in primary school, so I can get a lot of his uniform from the likes of Asda, Tesco, Morrison's in multi-packs. He wears a polo, he wears pants or shorts depending on the weather, and then a school jumper which I have to get from a specific shop because it's got the school logo on. Now, the most expensive part of all that is probably the jumper. Because it's got the school logo on and I have to get it from a specific shop. But everything else comes in a multi-pack, which you can get pretty much all year round. Now, I'm going to hand over to my friend here who's going to talk about the secondary school because I've got a family member who's currently going through this and he's about to go through it again with his second child. And I can't believe the cost of this. This is absolutely shocking.
Yeah, so obviously you've just said your kid's school uniform runs you somewhere around £70-80 for the year,
give or take, yeah.
And that's once it sort of settles out, you could probably get maybe a couple of years out of a shirt or whatever, depending on what you buy.
Not a chance.
Do you not?
Not a chance.
Right. Okay. So and so obviously about £70-80 for the year, which is when you think about the fact that the clothes that they only wear for a portion of the day during the week isn't really too bad, because otherwise you'd just be buying them regular clothes and going through them instead. High school uniform.
Jesus.
High school uniform. Now, I've got this piece of information here that I got from Google. I Googled it and the AI came up with it. Primary school children spend on average, parents of primary school children, not primary school children, but parents of primary school children spend on average £343 per year on uniform. Now, a lot of that will be due to growth and stuff like that. And obviously,
new trainers every 6 weeks,
new shoes, which are the main thing that they wear out, believe it or not. Secondary school parents of secondary school age children look at £442 per year on uniform. Now,
so £100 difference.
Yeah, I mean, but that's an average, so it could be higher, it could be lower. But the thing is, so schools dictate that they want X amount of things branded, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in your case, you've just got a branded jumper.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in high school, it was a branded jumper, a branded blazer later on, a tie. Besides the fact that my regular clothes had obviously started to become a bit more expensive because I was bigger, so I needed more clothes. Take the average of £442. Right, I'm 33, right? And I'm a big lad.
43.
Shut up. 33. Feel 43. I'm a big lad. And my pal here is a larger lad as well. I went out and I pulled a face at having to spend less than half of that on 2 fucking 3-piece suits.
Mm-hmm.
The most recent one being about 3 or 4 months ago. And they're charging it for school uniforms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck the uniform off and make them wear a suit. It's cheaper.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the thing now with school uniforms, especially school uniforms, secondary school, because, as you rightly say, a lot of it needs to be branded, whether it be blazer, jumper, tie, whatever it is. And then obviously it's the cost of, the shoes as well. So again, because you're bigger, obviously shoes tend to cost more. Also on top of that, and that's not even including, that's just a uniform. Some schools make you or tell you that they need a bag that has the school logo on. They need.
If they want that, they should fucking provide that.
Yeah, no, they don't.
And all this fucking stuff I've heard about school teachers buying supplies for their own classroom because schools are that fucking underfunded is ridiculous.
Exactly.
I was provided with a notebook, a workbook in school. Obviously, back when we were in school, back in the day, we didn't have laptops and fucking tablets and shit. You know, we didn't have that. And I believe that that's something that they do now. But it should be supplied by the school. The uniform should be supplied by the school. Sorry, let me just rephrase that because that would have come out really wrong phrasing. Any branded uniform that the school wants should be supplied by the school. Now, what that does is it reduces the amount of branded shit you need. Because the school are going to go, we can't afford to do all of the branded shit that we've got. Why did I need a fucking rugby kit for school? The branded rugby kit. That's the only PE kit. And it was fucking expensive as far as I remember, because I remember my dad bitching about it. Why do I need... All I'm going to use it for is rugby. That's the only thing I want to use it for, which I didn't, because I never did rugby anyway, as I said before. So, how can they make us wear a specific thing for rugby, which happens, 4 times a year maybe, in PE? And then a bit more if you decide to do rugby and play for your school rugby team? To charge us that much money for something that gets used like that?
Yeah, exactly. It's a joke. I mean, when I was in secondary school, the branded stuff, again, similar to you, blazer, jumper, tie. I had a planner, which was kind of like you put your lessons in and stuff like that, so you knew where you were going to be.
But that was provided to us, yeah?
No, I had to pay for that.
No, not us. It was provided to us, the planner.
Oh, no, we had to pay for that. But as I said, that's not even including. Like, when you start... I mean, let's be totally honest here. When you start in year 7, right, you go in looking like the biggest nerd ever. Your tie is the way it's meant to be. You've got your jumper, your blazer on. You're wearing actual shoes, and you know your uniform was pristine. You've got a bag of folders, pens, and everything. Do you know what I mean? In year 7, then in year 8, the trainees come out. Your tie gets a little bit shorter. You lose the jumper at like halfway through the year, and your bag's got a lot less in it. Year 9 comes, your jumper's gone completely, your tie's even shorter.
It's like a slow breakdown, isn't it? I mean, that all depends on what school you went. I mean, my school was quite strict on uniform.
Oh no, mine wasn't. We were wearing Reebok Classics with no tie and everything.
Mine was quite. What's it? The only thing that I got provided that the school specified, uniform-wise, was when I became a prefect.
Oh God, what a nerd! Jesus,
I got the prefect. I've still got it in my wardrobe, I think. I got a prefect tie.
That's sad. Sad.
No, well, I've still got all my fucking school shite. That was provided to us. That was it. We didn't go out and buy that. They had mainly because they only had to buy about 6 of them a year, so it didn't fucking matter.
Alarm bells ringing here, guys. Alarm bells ringing.
But yeah, it's and another thing of costings and something that's indirect to this, but direct to this, if you like, is something else that we're going to just go touch on because it's wrong, and we're both sort of going through a point. Well, I'm going to be at a point soon of it, and you're at that point now. Is the school holidays thing, and going on holiday and taking kids out of school for holiday.
Yeah. So I don't agree with this at all.
Well, I have a couple of different sort of feelings about it in regards to certain things, but it'd have to be done. So you completely disagree with it, don't you?
I completely disagree. So if anyone listening doesn't know, so parents are now being fined for taking the kids out of school during term time. So for the first incident, it will cost £80, which can raise to £160 if not paid within 21 days of getting the of getting the notice. Basically, if there's a second fine within 3 years, it's automatically £160 straight away. Now, the reason I don't agree with this is when you take your child on holiday, it's fun. It's a great time, but it's still a form of education. Now, this is what we were talking about before. when you kind of said we're branching out the term education. You take a young child more so. This kind of thing goes to what I'm saying. But you take a young child on holiday to Spain for a week, right? They learn the culture, the language, food, customs, all that they can learn on a holiday. Do you know what I mean?
Passively they could do it.
Passively they can learn that, right? When I took my son to Spain a couple of years ago, I did it, in the holidays. And obviously it was expensive, but I was teaching him Spanish. I was teaching him when someone took something away from our table or gave him something. I was teaching him how to say Spanish words, hola, gracias, all that. I was teaching him. We took him on, an historical trip into like these caves, and stuff like that, where he learns how these caves were formed, and stuff like that. So we did educational things while we were on holiday. I don't agree with me taking my child out of school. I get slapped with an £80 fine. It's just ludicrous.
Right. So the £80 fine for taking your child out of school, I'd take it.
I'd take it.
It's because it's cheaper than what the fucking holiday companies charge out of term times. So this is the issue, right? The issue with this is what the government have done, like they always fucking do, is they've gone, we're going to penalise the parents.
Mm-hmm.
What we're not going to do is what every fucking normal person should do, and we're not going to go to the fucking holiday companies and put the law in place that means they cannot charge what they're charging. Uplift it. Fine. Uplift it by 30, 40, 50 quid. Not $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what they uplift it by.
Oh, yeah.
So the 80 quid is like, 80 quid, that's per child as well. That's not a one-off. Yeah, that's per child. To take your child out of school in term time, that's a lot cheaper, even with fucking 3 kids. Still a lot cheaper than the uplift of the fucking holiday companies.
Oh yeah, it's not. It's a double-sided coin, isn't it? I don't agree with the fine, right? Because it feels like I'm doing something wrong, right? Which I mean, people listen to this would say, "Well, you are doing something wrong."
Right. Okay. Let me just stop you there. Let me stop you there with that, because that's something that I was going to do. Right. You just said the people listening to the, or a few people listening to this, a lot of you, if you're listening to us, you probably tend to hopefully agree with a lot of the things that we say. However, you're not doing something wrong because you're taking your child out of school. Couple of things. First of all, our taxes pay for the school system.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which essentially means I should be able to take my child out of school whenever the fuck I want because I'm paying for it.
Yep.
Right? So that's number one. Number two, in my life as a father, when it comes to school, it does not affect the education of my child in a negative way, as you've just said, because you're learning about different cultures. So you're learning something, but primary school, up till year sort of 6 when they do the SATs, is it? I can't remember. Yeah. Which I think should be abolished anyway because it's bollocks. But up until that sort of year 5, late year 5, year 6, taking them out before that doesn't affect anything.
Nope.
Because they're just not learning shit. They're just learning basic stuff that they could learn at home by me keeping them at home and teaching them myself.
Mm-hmm.
High school, which is when a lot of them are more likely to go on holiday to more far-flung places because they'd appreciate it more and they understand it more and stuff like that. Don't take your child out around GCSEs.
Nope.
Don't take your child out around the middle of the end of year 9 because that's where the other important stuff happens. Beyond that, a week or 2 out isn't going to do shit.
No.
You come back, you jump back into your lessons, and you carry on learning what you're learning. You pick up whatever you've missed afterwards. Because unless you are fucking hardcore fucking chasing your GCSEs, which obviously follow you for fucking life, but unless you're in that sort of stage of late year 10, year 11 doing your GCSEs, or you're in that late year 9, mid year 9 sort of area where you're doing whatever that is that happens there, nothing else is going to be negatively affected that much. So you'd think that a parent who takes the kid out of school would have the wherewithal to go, right, well, you're doing your GCSEs, so we'll either change the holiday this year to a time where it's not going to affect your GCSEs, or we just won't go on holiday this year.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, you don't have to fucking go on holiday every year. Now, I have this argument. I've had this argument with my dad in regards to this kind of thing, because we never went on holiday every year. And he paid the mortgage off early and stuff like that, which is fine. That's what he wanted to do. Granted, I want to pay my mortgage off early. The difference between me and my dad was, as we've touched on with yourself, my dad was home every night. I stay away.
Yeah.
So in my view, I need that 2 weeks to have with the family.
Yeah,
and
a holiday to you is more important. Like it's there's more benefits for you going on holiday because you're away for 5 days, like every week.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And you get to see your son very limited time over the weekends. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, depending on thing. So holidays for you are, I'm not going to say necessity, but
it's just the time. It's the breakaway and the time to spend with my family.
Yeah,
and that's. But I mean, some other people might have different views on that, which is fine. It's up to you. But that's how I feel about it. This is once I put that to my dad. Me and my dad are that alike that we clash quite a lot. But as soon as I put that to my dad, I'm not at home every night. You were, regardless of whether we were in bed when you finished work or whatever. You were at home every night or every day because he works shifts. So, but I'm not. I live in hotels. So that's my view on that. But I'm not going to take my child out of school in term time based on the fact that I can't be asked dealing with the shit, basically. So while I don't agree with it, I'm going to abide by it because I've got other things to fucking sort out than having another thing on my plate that shouldn't be fucking happening anyway that I've got to deal with.
No, I understand that. But obviously, rhetorically speaking, you look at a holiday and then you look at the exact same holiday a week earlier, which is during term time, and it's nearly £2,000 cheaper.
Yes. Well, that depends on what holidays you go for as well. Don't forget, my majority of my holidays are in this country and caravan sites because I've got a caravan. So it's slightly.
Okay, so I'll rephrase it, right? You are going on holiday this year.
Yes.
Right. So let's say 3 years time, right? Let's say the next couple of years you do you do the way you normally do it, which is caravan sites and that. I mean, I love a caravan. I've been on a fair few, as you well know. And I've been to different parts of the country, again, as you well know. But in, let's say, 3 years time, obviously you fancy getting away, proper, again,
going
proper
abroad,
family holiday. He's obviously in school at that point. You look at one holiday, let's say Turkey, for example. You look at Turkey and it's during 6 weeks holidays, you're talking $4,000 easy, 4.5 for a decent hotel, right? For 2 weeks all inclusive. That's pretty much what you're looking at.
Yeah.
You go the week before, which is the last week he's in secondary school. The last week
of his year, yeah.
And it's £1,500 cheaper.
Yeah, and that's where the government should step in with the holiday companies and go, you can't fucking do that. Like I said, I don't mind an uplift. I don't. And
are you going to take that or not?
Well, no, because I can't be asked dealing with the shit.
See what I mean?
But that's just because I can't be asked dealing with the shit. That's all it is. Right. A majority of my life is run from other parts of the country. And sometimes, like last year, other parts of the fucking world. I had to buy my car from Germany. Not actually physically from Germany. I didn't get a car and drive it home. I mean, I was organising the purchase, sale of my old car and purchase of my new car from a smoking shelter in Wiesbaden in Germany.
Yeah, he was moaning to me every day as well.
Right? So, because my life is all organized from different parts of the country and different parts of the world if I get asked to go abroad, it's another piece of shit that I've got to deal with remotely and generally late because I work nights at the moment.
Fair point.
That's why I do. And again, I mean, look, we try not to talk about even in our personal life between us. We tend to try now not to talk about money and stuff. But I'm in the fortunate position of being able to pay for that uplift if I need, if that's the case.
Yeah, but some people listen to
some people listening aren't. Yes, and I appreciate that, and that's again why it makes it slightly different for me. But I will pay an uplift of things. I don't have a problem paying an uplift of things because of supply, demand, and all that shit. What I have a thing against is the amount of uplift. As I probably said before, if I've repeated myself, I'm sorry, but that's what the problem is. It's the amount of the uplift that's the problem, not the actual uplift itself. I'm all for companies making money. Fair enough. But not that much. And this is something we might get into with energy and water and stuff in a future episode as well, as the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's where it's out of order is the amount of uplift that's in there. So, that's basically that. That's the UK holiday thing is that we that's good taking them out of school for holidays and stuff. I think it should be used correctly.
Yeah, definitely. I think it could be maybe slightly tweaked to suit a lot more people. But yeah, it is a problem. But I'll tell you what is another big problem in schools nowadays. And we've both been through this, so it's probably gonna hit a nerve. To be fair, is bullying in schools.
Right, so we're taking a complete left turn here. Now, bullying, like you've said, we both. I know what I've been through. You'll know what you've been through. We've not talked about it much between us because it's just something that we've grown out of as we've gone along. I mean, like I say, as I've said before, I work in construction. It's not called bullying here; it's called banter. Mm-hmm. And if you can't deal with the banter, then you're in the wrong job. So, I mean, I've got a hardened skin from when I was bullied when I was younger anyway. But, so, my school life, I mean, I was, as you've probably gathered, the kiss ass, the brown nose. I did all the stuff I was supposed to. I did all my work. I fucking helped on inset days. I went in on days that I didn't have to. I looked after the fucking pond. I looked after the fucking fish tank. I have several headmaster's commendations for doing that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I was bullied for the way I looked, especially early on. Because I was a big lad when I was in year 7. You could tell. I mean, like I say, we don't do photos of us and we won't, but you can see the difference. Even now, even though I'm a big lad now, you can still see the difference between me then and me now. And so that was that. And then when I started sort of filling up and filling out, when I got into sort of year 9 and I started getting taller and it spread out, that sort of went by the wayside as such. And when I started smoking, I gained a lot of friends. As I said before, I've always worked while I was in school and I always had my own cigs. So that's probably why I gained a lot of friends. But I wasn't too fussed because I was under protection by a lot of them from the bullying anyway. But it was all based on the way I looked, not on the fact that I was a kiss ass in school. Yeah. Well, actually, I'm not going to even say kiss ass because I wasn't. I was just doing what I was supposed to be doing.
School prefect.
Oh, right, shut up, right? I very nearly didn't get that. I had to fight for it as well.
Oh my God, you fought to become a school?
Yes, because I was told I was going to get it, and then she gave me an excuse as to why I wasn't going to get it. I was like, no, that's not right, because it wasn't me, it was someone else, and I got the fucking blame for it.
That's even worse.
So eventually I got it. Anyway, so that's what, and when it gets to a point where I've got that thicker skin that I can deal with being called names, then that's fine. Now, my problem was because they weren't getting a rise out of me by calling me names, they started calling my family names.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start doing that, you get your nose broken, as one of them found out. I'm not a fighter. I can't throw a punch, but I could that day. And from, again, it's something we'll touch on in a future episode because it's a big thing from mental health and especially what we'll talk about being men's mental health. In teenagers, due to school pressures and school bullying, due to social media, which again might be something we do an episode about, with suicide being the fourth leading cause of death of teens because of bullying. And that's all kind of bullying. Like I say, social media has given rise to anonymity.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be in front of that person. You don't have to deal with the consequences of what you're doing, which is then made bullying worse.
Cyberbullying is, is ridiculous. Like Snapchat, Facebook, whatever it is, Instagram. It doesn't matter. Like cyberbullying is, I think it's worse.
Yes, because you're not dealing with you're not dealing with the consequence. If you bully the wrong person, or if you're bullying someone and they snap and they hit you, you would hope that would teach you not to bully that person. And in my case, that person never bothered me again. However, with cyberbullying, with social media, you can sit behind a keyboard and you can say and call people the foulest things that you could possibly come up with.
Mm.
And there's no comeback because you're behind a keyboard. There's proof of it existing because it's on social media.
Yeah.
But you don't get any fucking proper reaction. The only reaction that tends to happen when it is that bad and that harsh is the suicide statistic.
Yeah. And for me, and this is something that I noticed, especially when I was going through it. Mine was slightly different to yours because I was never a big lad when I was in school. I was always quite lean anyway. So mine basically came because wore glasses and my surname, which again I won't mention, but that they were the kind of two kind of easy ways in.
Absolutely non-things for bullying people as well. There's
no
something that's out of your control, your surname.
Yeah. But they were the two kind of easy ways in to kind of get to me. And then you kind of get used to it and then it starts to adapt because of my family situation then as well. So it kind of progressed as I got older. The one thing that did bug me, and looking back at it now, and I definitely see it and I heard of it more, is parents. Parents always think, and I know for a fact at some point I'll be guilty of this, and probably you will be as well. But all parents think that the sun shines out of their children's asses, right? Now, if their child was accused of bullying someone, right, and they sat in an office with the head teacher or whatever, no, not my child. He's not like that. He's a perfectly good boy at home. Doesn't mean he's not a cunt in fucking school.
Exactly. So
when you're not around, he's an absolute twat. And you won't believe it, so you won't punish your child, which means that when they're not around you, it's going to get worse and worse and worse until some poor child ends up fucking ending their own life because your child cannot be controlled because you think the sun shines out of their ass.
Yeah. So there's obviously got to be an element of evidence. So for me, if I get wind that my child is bullying someone, I will fucking put a stop to that straight away. Because obviously of my experiences of being bullied, and I know it's not nice.
No.
If I get wind of my child being bullied, then I will go in and speak to them about it and find out what's going on, and I'll get all the evidence before I take the side. But it goes back to what I said earlier on. Yes, I won't take my child's side straight away, because if I do and I'm found out to be wrong, I look like a dickhead.
Mm-hmm.
And my child doesn't learn.
No.
But in saying that, as I said before, my child will be taught, and all of my, but we're planning on having two, we've got one. Both of my children will be taught to never start it, always finish it.
Yep.
If I get a phone call from school saying that they've been in a fight, the first question I will ask them, apart from are they okay, is did he start it or did he finish it? And if they say that he finished it, then I'll go, sound, is he bleeding? No. Sorted, put him back in class, see you later, phone down. Because I'm usually going to be about 2 or 3 hours away anyway, so I can't do anything about it. That's how that's going to go. If they say he's started it, then I'm going to have issues. Because I will try and teach him, and that will be the thing. Never start it.
No.
Let them fucking hit you first. Because if they hit you first, you have reason to hit them back.
Yeah, exactly.
You have no reason to hit anyone unless it is in retaliation for physical violence to you. They're calling your names, turn around and walk away.
Yep.
That's what I learned to do. Apart from when he called me mum and name when he broke his mouth. But that's what I learned to do. And I got a thicker skin because of that.
Yeah, sticks and stones and all that, mate.
Sticks and stones. Exactly. Don't let names fucking hurt you. They're pussies because they're not physically harming you. They're just fucking calling you names.
Exactly. Words can go in and out and mean absolutely fuck all. Do you know what I mean? It's the physical side of it that becomes a problem. But, I mean, you touched on, obviously, men's mental health before, but there isn't many services for children's mental health either, because kids don't want to grass anyone up.
No.
And kids feel like they can't talk to anyone. Now, obviously, depending on their parents, they might not want to talk to the parents because they don't want the parents to kick off. They don't want to talk to the teachers because, again, they don't want to be bland at the grass and make things worse in school. So what else are children meant to do?
So you brought up something that I didn't plan on being brought up, and I think it is something that we will talk about because we're going to have to do some research on it. I don't want to burn any content for the men's mental health episode, but I have a belief of with my own children and with anybody. If your lad, when he gets old enough and understands that, you know, we can talk to myself and my wife and yourself and your wife and vice versa with my children. If your lad came to me and said, I don't want to tell my dad because I'm scared that he'll have a go, then I would be that confidential person that he could come to. The only time that I would change that rule, and I would make it clear to him that I would be telling you, inevitable harm.
Yeah.
That's when I would say, look, you've got to tell your dad, and I'll be there with you to tell your dad if you want.
Yeah.
That's how I'd work it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't want to burn any content for the men's mental health because there's a lot of things to talk about and a lot of things that I'm into that will be talked about because of it. So that, and I would imagine you'd be the same with your brother's kids and so on and so forth, you know?
Yeah.
So that's where we sit on that. We're not going to go into the kids' mental health thing too much because we don't, at the moment, we're not prepared for it. In regards to research and stuff, but I understand what you're saying. It is
a thing, though. They don't really have many options to go and talk to because of the reasons I've stated, and that kind of that then, like, you know, I don't know how to word this properly, but the suicide figures go up because of that.
Right. So in my experience, when I was in school, I had two particular teachers that I knew that I could go to if I needed to talk to someone. One of them was my music teacher. You're aware of why that is. And the other one was my chemistry teacher late on. And I would imagine that obviously kids have their favourite teachers.
Well, some do.
Well, yeah, some of them do. Some of them don't want to be in school at all, which is fair enough. But most kids have their favourite teachers, and I would think that those teachers could be talked to by the children if they needed to, because that's what I did.
Yeah, you'd hope so. You definitely hope so.
Like I say, we'll go into we'll do a bit of research on it because no doubt there is charities and so on out there and people that kids can talk to at the age primary school going into middle of high school. I don't think that children have the sort of the capacity, apart from the bullying thing, obviously, the capacity to be or have, unless it's a chemical imbalance or something like that, a mental health issue in regards to what we're talking about. Because
again, you'd be surprised.
Yes, and look, I'm not saying that every single one and all of that, and fair enough. And you know where I've been, and you know how I've been in the past sort of, in my past sort of life. So you know that I've experienced what I've experienced, and I know you have as well. But apart from the bullying thing, which is a different thing, which can put a lot of strain on someone, I don't think, because they've not got the worries that we've got. So
different.
Say that again, mate. Sorry, I lost you there.
Oh God, it is. They still have their own worries in secondary school. Do you know what I mean? It's not. It's things have changed since we were in school, and children in secondary school especially, it does become a very, very big problem, and I don't feel like there's enough support there. There might be, like I said, we'll do some research on it, and we'll, we can touch on it in a future episode. But I just don't feel like teens, especially, are properly looked after in school when it comes to kind of this stuff. But anyway.
Right, look, I'm gonna just before we finish, because we've been on this for quite a long time, and I might have to split this into 2 episodes. But before we sort of we roll up to the outro and stuff like that, there's a couple of things that I want disagreeing with you with the kids not having thing. Right, you've got exam pressures. Exams should be abolished. Something we didn't touch on before. But exams should be abolished. It is unneeded pressure. Everything should be done through coursework. Because all that happens now, if you don't know the answer to a question, what do you do?
Well, you go and search for it.
Yeah, how do you search for it?
Yeah, you go on the internet, you go on Google.
You take your phone out of your pocket and you go to Google. And generally the answer is correct that Google provides. So exams are unnecessary. Yes, the retention of information is important, but it's not relevant. It might be important, but it's not relevant. So I think exams should be abolished because it's unnecessary pressure that I had when I was in school. It was pressure, especially on stuff that I didn't understand and I wasn't good at. Kids, apart from that and apart from the bullying, 2 things that they have in pressure, kids don't have what we have. Kids have nothing to lose, really. There's no consequence to failure, really. Failure is always an option. You don't have to get it right all the time. I am a big believer in that. If a child fails at an exam, generally they get another go at it. Generally.
It depends on how bad they fail.
It depends what it is and stuff like that, and if there's reasons behind it. But generally they get another go at it. If I fail at work, I lose my house. If I fail at work, I'm no longer a provider for my wife and my child. That's a hell of a lot more of a risk.
Yeah, it is.
That's a hell of a lot more pressure. So do you understand what I was saying before about the fact that kids don't have that? They get home, they play on their Xbox, bought for them by the dad, watching the telly in the bedroom, bought for them by the mum and dad, not just dad, mum and dad. They don't have to pay bills. They don't have financial pressures. They don't have any of that. The only pressure they've got is the pressure of school, which can be alleviated quite a lot by redesigning the syllabus and redesigning the way that school is, and the pressure of friendships, which, as you well know, can be a pressure. But the way that I work friendships is that I don't have friends, I have family, and you're one of those. So you know that.
Oh God damn it! When did I sign that contract?
So that's what I'm. That's where I was at with the pressure thing, and they don't have the sort of the risk of losing, really.
No, but you fail your GCSEs, then I'm not going to say your life's over because it's not, but what I'm saying, it's hard to resit your GCSEs and you can feel like a failure. And then at that point, you can feel like you've let your mum and dad down, you've let yourself down, and that's an awful lot of pressure.
Yeah, but you don't become homeless because of it. You can't lose your family because of it.
A lot of kids, well, you can.
Well, in principle, you shouldn't. Obviously, it depends on how your parents are and stuff.
Exactly. But there is still pressures associated with school that I feel that kids should, they need a great deal of help, and I don't think the help is there, personally. But I understand what you're saying. Outside of school, when you enter the real world, let's put it that way, when you enter the real world, pressures do become a lot more intense. If you get a decent paid job and you go for a mortgage, if that job gets shut down, if you lose it by making a mistake, whatever it is, then you could cost someone their life. You could lose your house, you could lose your family. The pressure does intensify, and this is where we think that school, what we touched on before, schools don't prepare you properly for the outside world. You're not prepared properly for when you leave school. And this is why we said before that a core lesson should be life-based, to give you an insight on what life is like after school.
Yeah.
And they don't get that. You learn the basics, and then you're basically sent out into the real world, and then you have to learn everything after that. And it's not on. Then the pressure of life starts effectively, and it's just a bit much.
Yeah. So, and the pressure of life is something that this probably should have been our first episode, because it's leading up into going out into the real world. And then the real world is everything else that we're talking about.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we didn't think of that.
We didn't think of that. So, right. Well, yeah. So what do you lot think anyway? Education wise, no doubt there's a few of you with kids about and stuff like that, and you might be later on in your kids' education than my pal is here, or obviously later on than I am, because he's still in fucking nursery. What do you think? How are they running the school that your child's going to? How do you get on with your children bringing their homework home and stuff like that? Has it changed since you've been in school? Let us know. The email's always been the same, and it will always be the same. And it's also linked in the bottom. And X and anywhere else that we've put links up for. Give us a shout and let us know what you think. And again, any other subjects that you want talking about, let us know.
Yeah, don't forget, if you're watching it on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as well. Obviously, we've been doing this a couple of episodes now, but if you are enjoying the content, don't forget, we want you to stay here. This is a podcast for you, so don't forget to drop your like, drop your comments, subscribe, hit that bell notification icon as well, so you know when we drop a new episode. But again, thanks for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.